for October 3rd, 2012. Could we have roll call, please, Nancy?
Commissioner Pauly?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Edgar?
Here.
Commissioner Neely?
Here.
Commissioner Peterson?
Here.
Commissioner Roth?
Here.
Commissioner Mum? Commissioner Yates? And Commissioner Chair Shaw.
Here. Thank you.
Chair Shaw, can I make a comment if I may?
Yes.
I'm extending an apology from Betty Mum. She is suffering from acute pain from a accident she had earlier, but the nerves in her disc are extremely affected. She can't even turn her head. Her pain is very, very acute. And she's going to the therapy, but she's likely not going to be joining us in the next few meetings because of this. And she feels bad about it. But there was some discussion of doing things on the speakerphone, but because of the medication she's having to take because of this, she may not be that effective. So, and so. She felt very, very badly, and she asked me to apologize both to the Urban Renewal Commission and to the City Commission for her absence.
All right. Well, we wish her speedy recovery here. Okay, this is time for citizen comments. If you have anything you'd like to discuss with us that's not on the agenda this evening, please come forward. We have Bryson Boyce, please.
Brian Boyce.
Brian Boyce.
All right.
Kind of spelled differently than mine there.
It's not the typical spelling.
Okay. All right, Brian.
Confuses
Welcome.
people all the time.
Okay. Thank you.
I came to speak in support of the current developer of the Cove project. I've worked with him to get an environmentally friendly project designed and implemented. Randy Tyler is someone that prides himself in doing environmentally friendly elements in his projects, and also less dense projects, which we've seen in various locations. And I got them together with the Fish and Game people, Elizabeth Ruther to be exact, and they worked out a plan which they then presented to city staff, and that's the current plan that's in effect. And I'm afraid that those environmentally friendly aspects will be lost if this developer is lost to the city. And he is a hard-working fellow that's trying his best in this climate, economic climate, to get this project on its way. So I would support that happening. That you continue to work with him as a city. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Herman, please.
Yes, I'm Jerry Herman. I echo Ryan's concepts too. You know, 6 years ago, our Natural Resource Committee started looking at this issue with them and got them to make a number of adjustments in the project plan. Brian mentioned that a lot of changes have been made because of our advocacy, plus the task force that we put together was 1 year. 5 months ago, we went on a tour to look at their properties to see if in the field they held up to what we thought they were talking about. And it's 1 year ago in November that you all voted unanimously to continue your relationship with them. So I'm not sure where you stand on the whole thing, but again, we stand fast with them in spite of a terrible economy and other factors. I don't know what they all are. It must be Nessie is holding out her presence in the Cove, and that's scaring everyone away. But we're here to say we want you to move forward no matter how messy Nessie might be.
Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. I think. All right, Tom O'Brien.
Go to the next speaker and we'll continue. Oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
Modern technique.
What are you doing to us, Tom? What are you doing?
It's not even Halloween.
You're always testing us.
Showtime.
Yeah. You couldn't wait 2 months to do this, could you?
It's me.
Oh, it's you?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. No, I don't have it. They don't have it. No, I don't have it.
You're fine.
Yes, I can read it off of there.
Yeah, we see it.
It's on your monitors?
Yes.
Because it's not on mine. I would like to publicly apologize to our Economic Development Director, Eric Underwood, and to Chris Edmondon, property owner, for remarks that I made at the last Urban Renewal Commission meeting on September 19th of this year. You may recall that I indicated the property located at 712 Main Street in Oregon City was owned by a firm named T5 Equity Partners, LLC, a large privately held multi-billion-dollar corporation. Karen Morey correctly stated that this property is not owned by the company that I had stated, but is owned by T5 Equities, LLC. After the meeting on September 19th, I was approached by an individual who told me his name was Chris and that he and his partner both own 50% of the property located at the above location. He proceeded to inform me that his company is not affiliated with any large multi-billion-dollar corporation. In researching the request for a $60,000 grant, I looked at the same 74-page grant application packet that each of you commissioners looked at as provided for your June 20th meeting. On pages 18 and 19 in that packet, you will find 2 receipts from the Oregon City for permits, one for demo work, the other for construction. Each of these documents lists the company as T5 Equity LLC. There's the one, there is the other. I also looked for a record from the Clackamas County Tax Assessor's Office to determine what they list as the property owner. They show only the following tax lot map showing the tax lot. Clackamas County does not have online information available. Therefore, I use a website typically called Property Shock Reports for the purpose of determining ownership of a parcel. They provide information that is supposed to be identical to what the county assessor has listed in the past. Their information has been quite reliable. They show the following. Ownership being T5 Equity LLC rather than T5 Equities LLC. Unfortunately, when you do a Google search for T5 Equity LLC, the page that I included in my handout to you is what appears. Notice their primary focus being on multimedia, as indicated here. In conclusion, I've made an honest mistake for which I'm sorry and hope that my apology is accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, William Gifford, please. Oh, jeez.
Oh, calm down. Chair Shaw and Commissioners, my name is William Gifford. I live in Oregon City. I also want to start off with an apology. Apparently, one of the recent Urban Renewal Commission meetings, I misunderstood something that Kathy Hogan said, and I provided her with some information that was the budget for the city, and she was interested in budget for the Urban Renewal Commission, and I apologize for that error, and hope that she accepts that apology. On a brighter note, just this afternoon, I was playing ball with my dog.
He dug up?
What's that?
And he dug up?
No, as a matter of fact, neighbor came out and said that he would loan me this book. And it is Metzger's Atlas of Clackamas County, Oregon. Are you ready? 1937. And I am just blown away by this document. And any of you interested in history, and I suspect that most of you are, I would let you look at this, but I did promise them that no one could drool on it. So I am stunned by this treasure uncovered, and would be happy to share it with you sometime.
Great, wonderful.
You don't know how esteemed you look with that kind of. It's really impressive.
You need a feather pen.
I do have a top hat. I told you I got a top hat. I'll bring it next time. I don't know if esteemed is the word, but I was pretty stoked. about it. So,
Welcome to
happy
the Under the
share
Oregon
some
Trail, William. You know?
Yeehaw, buddy.
Thank you, William. Okay, Dan Fowler, please.
Dan Fowler, Oregon City. I wanted to express my concurrence with Brian Boyce earlier. I think that I would encourage, it's a tough economic time, I'd encourage you to continue to work. If there's no one else in the wings, we might as well try to keep getting something done. That was just a quick comment there. The other comment is maybe a little more serious note, and I think there's a responsibility, especially from elected officials, to not inflame, but to try to speak the truth. I want to point out an OregonLive.com article recently by Commissioner. What is that? By Commissioner Kathy Roth that I have to take exception with, and I'm here to enter into the record some information. In the discussion that we're having as a community over urban renewal, I understand that there's different philosophies. I really get that, and I think it's good to philosophically debate those issues. I have no problem. People who know me, I'm very open-minded in terms of having an honest, open discussion. Whether urban renewal is a good thing to use or not a good thing to use, whether you should bond and vote on that or not vote on that, that's really okay with me. And I hope that we can come together in that issue. What we need to come together first and foremost on is facts, is how it works, how taxes are derived, how increment is derived, what our property tax statement really means. And with all due respect, Kathy, I really don't believe you understand it. For the comment that you say to look at your property tax statement, and on the far right side, you see a column that adds up to each of your property tax districts. That is true. There are currently two lines labeled urban renewal. If you add these lines up, you will see that those two lines are included in your total. Some opponents of 3-407 suggest that these figures are not really included and that you don't pay for urban renewal. That's not true. We have never said those are not on your property tax statement. Everybody in Oregon City knows they are on your property tax statement. The way it works is that the money derived for urban renewal is derived in the urban renewal district. By state law, it has to be accounted for throughout your entire city. So what you see on your property tax statement is an accounting of the tax increment that is derived from the district. What happens at the county assessors, and I've spent 2.5 hours up there, and I would encourage each and every one of you to spend time with your county assessor to understand this, because this is a fact. This should not be debated. We can debate the philosophy. I don't have any problem with that. But the fact of how this works should not be debated and not be misrepresented, especially by our elected officials. That accounting is made city-wide by state law. What the assessor does is the amount of that line item for urban renewal, he takes those dollar amounts that are on my tax statement and yours and proportionally lowers the other line items on your statement. Okay? So that the money you pay, yes, it's urban renewal, and this is a very hard concept to grasp, but if it went away, the ratcheting down of those other line items goes back up, you pay the same. You pay the same. Now, if you don't, I mean, I'm trying my very best to put it in words, and I'm not, if you don't get that, go up and talk to the assessor, because you've got to get it, because this is not a true statement. And I'm sorry that it's there. The other portion of this that I am very upset with is that a comment is made that we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That's okay, we are. Not a crowd of uneducated people waiting to be told how to react. Now, I'm going to suppose here, and I could be wrong, with all due respect, that you're maybe referring to the crowd that showed up at Pioneer Center.
No, not at all.
Okay. I hope not, and I appreciate that. I know you're a truthful
That
person.
wasn't on my mind at all.
So, whatever crowd that is, I don't think there's a crowd of uneducated people on either side of this issue. I think people are good people. I think they're passionate about what they philosophically believe in. They're not uneducated at all on either side. And I just think I would hope that we have better from our elected officials. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, we have no other citizens coming forward. We will move on to our general, let's adopt the agenda first. How's that?
On the agenda, I would like to move D, the last item, forward.
4D.
Yeah, 4D. I think it's important that we review 4D before we get into some of the others.
Anybody have a problem with that, huh? Okay. All right, let's go ahead and move 4D forward. So, 4D, 12-148, Urban Renewal Grant Application History. And that's going to be Eric Nubb. So we've kind of, do I have to adopt the agenda with moving that forward, or are we okay now?
Any problem?
Nope, no problem.
All right, Eric, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the last Urban Renewal Commission meeting, staff was directed to answer certain questions about the urban renewal incentive programs, grant programs, one being storefront, the other adaptive reuse rehab. Those questions included how many times a particular applicant has applied, how many times a particular applicant has received funding, the last time an applicant received funding, how much was received, and the total received by the applicants or partners of the applicants. And so in response to that, I have developed a series of spreadsheets that address those and some charts, which I call the application history charts for the Urban Renewal Commission grants. So if we want to, let's take the first, well, let me just show you what I did with the charts, and then we can get into the detail which the spreadsheets provide. So the first chart would be the storefront grant summary.
In your packet.
No, it's not.
In the packet. I've got them on thumb drive if you want me to come up.
There's in the back of the room, there is one binder with information, but,
Do you want me to do it on the screen?
well, we can do that.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll come up to the table. So
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Sure.
You're taking a big chance here, getting in front of this computer and screen.
Hey, I like airplanes.
Not me.
So you're going to look at the storefront grant first?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the storefront grant summary by applicant.
Just as long as it doesn't strafe us.
Never a dull moment.
That's the new Oregon City Airport.
What happened to the old one?
It's kind of a fly by the seat of my pants presentation.
really very good.
Excuse me, Chair Shaw.
Yes.
In order, just with technology, sometimes we can't do things on the fly, and I don't think it's going to work this evening to do that, but we can keep trying, but I don't want to disturb the meeting any longer.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not giving me that. I'm just going to plug this in.
Okay.
Think we're closer, Nancy, or what are you thinking here?
That gives us about 3 or 4 minutes here.
Yeah.
That's not working. So, okay.
All right.
Let's just talk about it, and it's in the packet if you want to
Okay.
And I'll just stay up here if that's all right.
All right.
So the first chart is the storefront grant summary by applicant, and it basically just indicates the number of grants that were awarded by the applicant. So as you see, for instance, Miller and Brimrose, over the history of this is the life history of the program from 2004 to 2012. Over the history, Miller and Brimrose was awarded 3 grants. Chris Edmonston has been awarded 7 for storefront, and so forth. And so you see P. Eddy is 2, R. Nichols is 3, K. Pauley is 2, R. Smith is 5, and then Historic Properties is 2. So on the next chart, you have the storefront grant summary by applicant total funding. Now, this is the total funding these folks have received over the lifetime of the grant. Now, I've only included the folks who have received awards more than once on this. There are several, you'll see in your spreadsheet, several others that have received awards, but they were only one-time recipients. So you have Miller Brimrose at $51,500 total. Chris Edmondson, $83,938. P. Eddy, $7,500. R. Nichols, $17,500. K. Pauley, $7,600. R. Smith, $40,000. And Historic Properties, $18,900. Then I go into the storefront grant summary by contractor, and again, it's the number of grants. That should be your next chart. So the most awarded was 5 by one contractor. That was F&F Structures. And then we can move on to...
Could I ask a question here? These contractors actually are not chosen by us. They're chosen by
These contractors are chosen by a competitive process. So we have it as our requirement and our criteria for the storefront grant that 3 bids have to be solicited from contractors. And so this is done by a competitive process.
Okay.
And the next chart indicates the total amount of funding that was awarded to the contractor as part of that project. So you'll see the figures there. The most awarded was $130,463. That was to F&F Structures. The next highest award was $29,975 by Copper Mountain. Any questions on that chart?
Is that
Commissioner Neely?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask if that is the. I mean, people are also kicking in money. Is this just the amount of money that's come from the grant?
This is the amount of money that's come from the grant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And so the last chart that I have is the history of the adaptive reuse rehab grant by applicant, which is a very short history because we just started that last fiscal year, and we've only had 1 award, and that was to Funnelbox for $60,000. The others that you see on that chart are highlighted in yellow because they're pending. We'll be talking about those tonight. As far as for the questions that were asked, that staff was directed to answer, the last time an applicant received funding, that's in the detailed spreadsheet, so it's listed by dates. You'll see that. How many times a particular applicant has received funding, that was indicated in the charts. The last time an applicant received funding, again, this is spreadsheets. How much funding was received, and the total received by the applicants or partners of the applicants. That's in the charts, but if you want to pair up the partners, that's also paired up in the spreadsheet. So you'll see the applicant with the partner together. And yeah, so that's basically it. That's the information.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it.
Commissioner Neely, please.
No, I'll pull it.
Okay. So anyone else here? So it's like nobody's on here, so you got to. Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was basically informational, and staff isn't requesting any action. At this
Thank
time.
you. Very, very good. Okay, Commissioner Edgar, please.
One of the things that I'd like to do, and I think that in the future we need to outreach to make sure that we incorporate all of the businesses and get a higher distribution and just an outright effort to reach out. I know when I had asked Eric, and Eric graciously went with me down to Bigfoot Bakery. But here we have a fledgling business trying to restart the Munoz site, and it would be kind of, I think that's an example of us needing to go out and encouraging a far greater number of people to look at the opportunities we can to make our city go. I would turn around and say that, and I publicly applaud Rob Crocker and his funnel box for the number of jobs and the equation of bringing jobs into this town is not only critical. I called that what happened amazing. So let's keep a couple of the criteria in front of us. But one of the criteria I think we need to have is looking for more diversity, more actual individual clients across the board on Main Street and in our urban renewal area, taking advantage of the opportunities.
Thank you, Paul. All right. Anybody else before we move on here? Okay. Thank you. We're going to move back to item 4A, 12-109 to Adaptive Reuse Building Rehab Program. Eric Underwood, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Back in August, I brought to you the 3 applicants just to kind of give you an overview of the applications that we had received. This staff has since gotten the review committee together, and we've reviewed the applications, and tonight we're recommending award for all 3 applications. And so tonight I'll just go over just brief the project for you and give you the reasons why we feel like it should be awarded. Actually tonight I'm asking, this is a recommendation from staff that you approve as the awards as indicated. And I've also invited the applicants here tonight too to speak in case you have any other questions about the project. So we'll start with the first one, which is 722 Main Street. That's the Billups Worldwide project. It's down right across from the courthouse there and across from the Caulfield House. This is a complete rehab of this building. It includes seismic upgrades. It includes restoration, the historical components. They're using some of the material in the building as refinishing surface. This will be a headquarters for this company. This is Billups Worldwide. They're a media company. They'll employ approximately 12 employees there, full-time employees, good paying jobs. They, with the restoration of this building and them being able to operate in this building, they'll be able to host a lot of vendor events, which will, and from an economic development standpoint, is ideal because you're bringing new folks, different views of the city. You'll have all kinds of people coming from all over to see Oregon City and what's available and what we can offer. So it's great on a marketing note. And so we've included the application in there, and you'll see that it'll add light, space, and energy components to the building as well. And it's in a very prominent location downtown. So they originally requested $150,000. They requested the entire grant amount. Their investment in this project is $1.2 million. So they're investing a considerable amount of money in restoring this building. And let me step back and just say that these award amounts were calculated via a formula that the committee has come up with, and so they were also adjusted by the private investment amount, so the match amount. So that's how we came out to these figures. So I'll stop there on that project in case the commission has any questions.
What was the when you do the survey with staff, right? What was the percentage that?
For this one, we had a total percentage of 59.3%. That was our score. That was out of all 4 committee members.
Okay.
So what we did is we took the total scores from each committee member and added those up, divided that by the total amount of points possible, which gives you that percentage. And then we added all the percentages together for each project and came out and had a total percentage and divided that again back with that original percentage, that individual percentage, which gave us a factor that we used
Okay.
and computing the final amount. I can
Okay.
go through that again if because it's pretty
No, that's like, because I
convoluted.
remember you've done this before.
Right, and this time was a little different too. We got more of a hands-on feel. We did a site visit. The committee did a site visit, and so the applicant was able to be there to show us the project, to talk about it. We were able to kind of see the space and how it will be utilized and what it looks like now and how it's going to look once the project is over. And I'll just tell you, for this project, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So
that 59% is are we looking at 100% and this got 59, or what are we looking at?
yeah, so the total possible points are 252 points. We scored this one as a cumulative score from the committee at 107.5. So that's what this score was. And so that's 59%, 59.3%. So that's where we are.
Okay. Any questions on this one?
Biggest issue, that's great TIF.
Yes.
That after that's assessed, that has a very upside payoff.
Okay, good. All right, we'll move on to 804.
I
excuse
actually
me.
had one more, sorry, comment.
Okay.
We're moving on to another building after that. That's all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing I wanted to point out on this, this is a pretty amazing project, but on the commercial club building is the most key element of this building originally is the upper windows. And it looks like the plan here shows the building going pretty close to what it was. But those key center windows in each part of the building have these really unique ovals and really unique woodwork. I don't know if, I'm assuming it's woodwork, in those just center panes that go across the top of the window that make this building stand out from any other building on Main Street. In terms of such an investment into this building, I wouldn't think that those key elements in those top windows would be a huge cost, but it would be a huge impact to the way that that building looked originally.
Okay. Were we going to have the client here by any chance?
Yes, he's here.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's bring him forward.
Jason. Jason Baldry of Phillips Worldwide is here to
All
speak.
right. You have a name and address there, please.
Jason Baldry, Kaiser, Oregon.
Any comments on that, or why they were left out, or why they would have just been? I know that those don't exist there now.
The goal is to bring the storefront to as close to historic representation as possible.
Okay, so then if
So-
that's the case, why in the rendering are those not a part of it?
It could have just been an architectural
Okay.
oversight on the rendering.
Because my personal opinion would be amazing to have that back. It's the only thing really visually looking at it that's missing, and really that is some of these. There are key houses in Oregon City, and there are key. Yeah, do you see that?
Yeah.
There are key houses in Oregon City that stand out from any other houses, and there are key buildings in the downtown. And one of the buildings that we've been talking about is the Bank of Commerce building, which, the Bank of Commerce building is not the Bank of Commerce building without the columns. And this building is not the commercial club without those windows. And so any effort to be made to bring that look back, I think, would be appreciated.
That was our intent.
Very good.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. It says not currently seeking LEED certification, but you're doing things that will meet that certification. Is that kind of in the back of your mind that you might go for that?
For LEED certification?
Yeah.
Really, the main objection to doing that was more or less the cost. Mm-hmm. We felt that we could still do enough things within the building that could be sustainable in functionality that could accommodate some of the same ideas or ideals with the LEED certification, but at a cheaper cost.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready to move on to the next one.
Thank you, Rob.
Let's go to 804, please.
Okay.
Eric?
804. This is the Bush Building. We are recommending $45,000 for this grant award. They initially requested $60,000, I believe it was. 65,000, yes. And so, of course, again, the amount was calculated on the formula that was previously described. We felt this project was a great project. Again, it's practically, it would incorporate a new use downtown, which is kind of a grocery, boutique grocery kind of use. There's going to be some retail. There's going to be a restaurant. It really fits into the way downtown is transitioning with the media companies that are coming in the creative class. It kind of it fits into that mold. They're making valiant efforts to preserve a lot of the historical elements of the interior of the building for this project. It's going to provide a job creation with 2 principal tenant owners and 6 to 8 additional staff. So there are new jobs that are being created downtown. As I said, it incorporates the historical elements, and they're going to provide the amenities, I think, that are going to be needed in downtown. And plus, this increases the mixed use of that entire building because there's a furniture store adjacent. And then this is just part of a larger vision that this applicant has. And I don't know if you've been down to see some of the renderings in the storefront window there, but it's quite a vision. And, I think it would be good use for urban renewal money to get that vision going. Because I think it's that's the commission's goal is to have that sort of a vision happening downtown. So.
Great, thanks. Any questions on this project? Paul?
Big question is, does this get to a point where we may have to have seismic upgrades on this building? If are we doing any change of use that would necessitate that?
Not at this point, no. Typically, residential would trigger that if there was a residential component, but there's not a residential component to this piece right now. So it's basically the same. It's a retail. There's retail use. The only thing that's different is that it's a different type of retail use. So it's the boutique grocery, which is just an added amenity downtown.
Okay.
So, and the applicant's here tonight if you have additional technical questions about the project.
Any questions for Mr. Bush, I think?
Unless the applicant has some ideas that he would like to give to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rest of the commission here. Andy Bush, Oregon City, Oregon, Milwaukee, Oregon residents. It's a good question about seismic. There are components that are being started from this project that would dovetail with full-blown seismic. One of them is a 2-hour fire. They refer to it as a shift, and that's creating kind of an encapsulated shell in that downstairs area that would provide a 2-hour fire barrier between what will hopefully be residential above it. So in a sense, there's some beginning to that. It's not full-blown, but would be one of those things we'd have to go back and do if we didn't do it now. So we're kind of putting extra effort out there to have that done for future needs.
Great.
That's just on that seismic question.
Of the improvements that you're doing,
Yeah.
when I talk to the assessor's office, I'm one of those people like Dan Fowler. I go up there and get advice. What part of the improvements that you're making are just replacements? Replacements don't constitute a new appraisal item. And the parts that do constitute a new appraisal item are new elements that were not there before.
Right.
And so it comes along whenever we are putting out the money from the fire department or the schools or somebody, we have to also be looking at good stewards of their dollars when we're putting them in, when we're investing them. And so I look at every time, does this create new TIF? Does this pay back the loan?
Yeah, I think in a quick way to say that is I'm probably, with my contingent lease, I've raised the bar on probably what some of the other people that may be looking towards Oregon City are going to see in what would be a ground floor rent for retail. So as far as nuts and bolts and fasteners, that's part of it. But I think when you start looking at what the assessor would also say, what's the norm per square foot, and I think you're familiar with some of that in some of your buildings, we're starting to see a change down there, maybe not just from my project, but as a whole, other projects, and this is one that will lift that up. So in a sense, not just actual items and constructions, new doors, new ways to get in and out of that building, which will increase its value, but we'll also see a new way to use that, which should also spur higher economic distribution downtown.
Well, I thank you, and all these improvements are important.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Andy.
Looks good.
Thank you.
Just real quick, the two tenants that are coming, they couldn't come here tonight. They had some other jobs that they're really excited to get to a new job, which is on Main Street. So without some of this that's happening here tonight, they would not be able to embark on this project, and nor would we. So it's pretty neat to see two principals and, as Eric said, 6 to 8 employees come out of this, because they frankly didn't have the horsepower to make this work. And if this is something that we're going forward with, they're really excited to come down to Main Street. So
Great.
thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Tom O'Brien, please.
Yes, Tom O'Brien, Oregon City resident and taxpayer. I wanted to make a comment relative to the 804 property. It would seem to me that if the taxpayers through the Urban Renewal District are going to be offering $45,000 to a business that probably, if it weren't offered, would find a way to make that same investment, since it is going to significantly raise rents for the landlord. I'm not sure that it's a wise expenditure of taxpayer dollars to spend $45,000 to raise the rent values for the property owner without a significant show of return. And I don't know how quickly we're going to get a return of that $45,000 investment from that property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Okay, any other questions on 804? All right, let's move to 818 Main, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Last but not least, we have 818 Main Street, the applicant's T5 Equities. This is the last building on this block to be renovated. With this project, well, let me go back and say that we're recommending award for $30,000 for this project. The original request was for $55,000, and this project is really neat in the way that it is helping to facilitate expansion of an existing loyal business downtown, as well as bring in a new business with new jobs. It would be another corporate headquarters for a business called Smart Genius. And so they are looking at having at least anywhere from 35 to 40 employees in that office space. So it splits it up into two different uses. One is retail, one is office. And so it adds to that mixed use component. They are taking efforts to restore the historical elements inside the building. I don't know if you've been in there, but there's a beautiful wooden beam that just goes across the center of that, and so they've preserved that, and they're restoring that, and that's going to be part of the interior decor, and it's really neat. They're exposing some brick on the wall, the original brick, and it's a really neat project when we walk through. And I could smell the cupcakes next door. But again, we really like this project because it's establishing another corporate headquarters, and it's got new jobs associated with it, and it's hard to beat. So.
Okay. What was the amount for the 722 again, Eric?
The award amount that we recommend is $75,000. So that's half of what was requested, and that's just a very small part of what they're investing.
Okay. All right, so we probably need a motion for this 12-109, huh? To accept this?
Yes, unless you have questions for the T5 equity.
Oh, for T5, excuse me.
I don't see them here, so.
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Hi,
Any questions for T5? Would like to come forward at all, Chris? Or?
Yeah, there's questions.
Okay.
Chris Edmiston, Wilsonville.
All right, Chris. Okay. All right. Do we have questions for Chris or anybody here? Pretty smooth. Okay. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. So, do we have a? Do we need a motion for that? Correct. Oh wait. Excuse me.
We got him.
We got him.
I just moved, yes.
Yes.
I moved
Done
to
deal.
approve 12-109.
Great. Thank you,
I'm
Carol.
supposed to have seconded.
Thank you, Doug. All right.
Fast.
Okay, we have got motion approved, 6-4, and one abstain, looks like.
Recuse.
Recuse, right? Okay. All right, good, thank you. Let's move on to 12-145, Storefront Improvement Program Grant, 722 Main. Now, these are the storefront grants, so.
Right, these are
Okay.
the storefronts.
All right.
And so, again, this is, the way this is couched, I guess, or structured is that this is the commission decision, so you'll review these tonight and decide whether to award or whether not to award the project. We're recommending an amount for an award. So the 722 Main Street, again, is for this entire storefront. So it's for the Main Street facade as well as the 8th Street facade.
And the back, I think.
And the back, yes. And so actually, with this, you're getting 2 for 1, basically. So they are. We're recommending $34,250. They're trying to bring back a lot of the original facade features, other than the ones that we talked tonight. But I think they have the intent to do the windows, as Rocky indicated. So it's a very good project. Again, it's a very prominent location, and for them to come in and to renovate and do the facade, I think it's just a great thing for downtown and for the urban renewal district. So the $34,000 is based on a calculation that we've made due to their scoring from the committee. So that's how we came up with that amount. So I'll just
Okay, thank you.
end there.
I'm confused about, you said 8th Street?
I might be wrong. Yeah, 8th Street. Yeah.
Yeah, 8th Street.
So it's
Look at the wrong thing.
It's on the corner.
it's right across from Bush.
I'm the wrong one, okay.
So the storefront grant is kind of moved to the side and to the rear, so.
It's
cool.
this the front end, the side, and the rear. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
all right. So any questions on 722 here? No? Seeing,
I have a question.
Okay.
So what's the main reason why the approval was lower than the amount asked?
it's just based on the scoring when we went through and reviewed the application. It could have been some of the things weren't addressed, like the ADA or.
That's what I was
things.
wondering, the specifics of it.
Yeah. So there's a whole list, and I can give you the scoring sheets if you're interested in seeing those and what
Okay.
criteria we were scoring against.
all right, there's a motion I'm looking for, and Doug Neely has moved.
And that's for the 34,520.
This is for, 34,250, right?
Yes.
Okay,
520.
at
520.
520, got my numbers. Okay, so 722 Main, there's a motion. Do we have a second on this, please? Oh,
Kathy Roth.
okay, so there is. All right, didn't come up on my screen, sorry. Very good. We've got 6, 4, and 1 abstain on this. It passes. Let's move on to 12-146, Storefront Improvement Grant, 702 Main.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. This, once again, is the Bank of Commerce building. This is what I call the facade. And it's on the side.
Nice.
Thank you. So,
Language.
See what we have to put up with.
Yeah,
sometimes I need to learn my limitations.
okay.
Usually got a flag plate right in on it.
But it does front 7th Street. It's pretty much a continuation of their previous project, which they just finished the restoration of the facade on Main Street, which I think turned out to be quite a nice project and a great improvement. They want to continue for the other side, and so they are requesting $40,000 to do this project. We have recommended that, well, actually, we're waiting on what the commission would like to do because we feel like we didn't get enough detail in the application from the applicant to decide on an amount recommend.
Okay.
We feel like, although they met the 70% threshold, the minimum that we require in the criteria, the review committee they're requesting a more detailed application, which would include the renderings, which weren't provided, a spec sheet on building materials, which we did not see, and more detailed drawings and ADA requirements for the 3 entries that are on that side. So we were uncomfortable in making a recommendation for an amount due to those elements.
So you're just going to do a continuance of that instead of a denial?
We could do a continuance, and so that's what I'm asking the board what they would like to do. Would they like to deny it? Would they like to continue it? Or would they like to come up with an amount and go ahead and approve the application?
Move to continue.
Second.
Okay. Hold on, I'll put you
This
in
wasn't
there.
technology here, Nancy.
Okay. All right, to continue?
Move to continue.
Okay, now there is a question. But Rocky, Commissioner Smith, did you want to speak?
I just wanted to, the discussion about storefront, we've had that conversation before, but the way it's written is, as long as the building is visible from a public street or a sidewalk, or a major thoroughfare, it is considered a storefront. And we also had that discussion, I think, when we were dealing with the backs of buildings, especially to Railroad Avenue.
Yep.
And we had conversations about whether those are considered storefronts. But I also brought up the point that the promenade is a public walkway and the elevator is a street. So anything that's seen from any of those locations, it's a public street. The elevator is a public street, and so therefore, really anything in view of that as well is storefront.
All right. Commissioner Roth.
I just had a question about something I remember Paul Edgar bringing up about this building. That was the columns. And has there been any, that's not in this proposal, but has there been any movement on that?
I haven't heard an update about the columns. I know last we left it, they were intending on getting a design and putting those in, but I haven't heard anything new.
We had, the motion that was made was to include $2,000 for architectural study for the column.
Right,
But
right.
it wasn't part of that.
Right. Well, when we go back to ask for this additional information for the grant, we can ask for an update on the columns as well and report that to you. Sure.
Okay, very good. Yes, Paul.
I entered into a little research. I went down to the Astoria, found the building by the same owner or same architect. It happens to be now the new City Hall of Astoria. And I looked at the columns, and then I came back and talked to the people at Fiberglass about would they go down and could they make a mold identically of the columns, and they said yes, I would be very happy to. So then I talked to the owners of the building and asked them if they would be interested in stepping forward to look at it, and they said not at this time. So at that point, it was we have the ability to fab a mold and use new technology that would make it look very appropriate. But it's up to them, and it's coming back to, even in a walk that I attended with Rocky Smith recently, and we're talking about history of downtown and the importance of people coming across the bridge, and a lot more people will be coming across the bridge now. Whatever we do to make some of those very, very prominent areas of our downtown have that same look and feel of history is important. And so when I apply that logic, that weighted logic of the degree of importance of the money that we could be spending, and saying if I could get those columns put up for the same amount of money, how much more benefit would I be giving as far as creating that appearance of the city that we want to have. And so, in a sense, I can go back and say, wow, I'd love to see those columns brought, because much like the windows on the other building that on corner of Main and 8th, certain things are part of really making it a signature of the history of Oregon City. And so I wish that that would be considered, but it's really up to the owners.
Thanks for the investigation there. Very good. Okay, we're going to vote.
Well, I want to make it clear, it says motion to approve, and that's not what we're doing. It's a motion to continue.
Yes.
Okay, but your verbal motion was to continue,
Yes.
and that will be
Yes.
reflected in the
Correct.
minutes.
Very good.
Wait a minute. Oh, no.
Voting aye, Carol?
Yes. What's my code to log in?
Okay. We've got a unanimous motion
You're
there
welcome.
to.
I know everybody's code.
We've got a unanimous vote here to continue 12-1406. Okay, we're going to go to city manager's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have very little to report tonight. I want to remind the commission that I will be at the ICMA conference in Phoenix next weekend. Tony Conkle will be the acting city manager while I'm away. The other thing I want to remind you of is Eric Underwood's been with us 10 months. And for those commissioners who I worked with for about a year and a half before that, think about how much we got done on this commission in that 18 months and how much we've gotten done since Eric's come aboard. Tonight is a perfect example of it, and I just think he's doing a great job. So, thank you.
Yeah, but we're going to wait for the 12-month evaluation.
I mean, our downtown is showing, I mean, it's just like a new place. And I know it's a lot of work on Main Street and all of the street improvements,
Yes.
but
Getting buttoned up.
we're doing all the rest, and there's
Things
more
are
to do.
good. We've given him a bad time a little bit once in a while. Keep him in check, but is the new Porsche okay there, Eric? Okay, that's your own personal thing. Okay, future agenda items, anybody? Yes, Paul.
Recently, we got some the last 5 years of financial expenditure data, and some of us have gone, at least I have gone over it line by line, line item by line item. I really think that it should be reviewed in a higher level. I think it's in our best interest, and efforts are being made to do this. But I think that I'd like it to be in a public setting. I just think it's very important because it's all about credibility. And it's all about the public understanding and being with us. And as we move ahead on other issues, I thought one of the things that was mentioned at the recent the candidates forum last night was we have a new city police station, we have a library, we have public works. We've got a lot of issues that are going to be coming in front of the city and the citizens. And one of the important things to me is to have all of the air clear so that when we don't have any baggage and we move ahead smart. We make decisions based upon having all the facts on top of the table. And I think until people understand urban renewal, and I would even come back and say with what Dan Fowler said, I think we need to bring the assessor down here to this. It's sitting right there and having this 101 presentation right here so that we're not having somebody thinking one way and another person thinking another way. And so it's all about openness, and it's all about being honest with the public. And I think that the more we do along this line, the better off we will be for the long haul. Okay?
All right. Thank you, Paul. How about Commissioner Neely?
I have no objection to that. I would point out, we did have the assessor do exactly that.
Well, maybe it's time to have him back
Well,
down
that's
here.
fine. I just don't want the impression this hasn't been done before.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Pauly?
we're not going to be acting on that unless the commission is fully, I mean, if the whole commission wants us to try to arrange a date, I don't see any downside to that, but just want to make sure that there's a consensus that we do that, and then we'll invite them and see when he's available. And it could be a workshop, one of your work sessions, or it could be a
workshop.
I would suggest, we've got an election coming up, I suggest that's perhaps for the next commission.
Right?
All right, Commissioner Pauly?
I agree that we need to all brush up on urban renewal so we have all the facts on the table. Kathy Rath and I went to the League of Oregon Cities seminar conference, as did Mr. Neely and David. And Kathy and I sat next to each other during Urban Renewal 101. It was a lot of good information. And I was wondering if the League of Oregon Cities, I saw on their website that they do come and give seminars. They will come to your city. That might be a good thing for them to come.
That's worth proposing, even for myself, even for a public venue, I think.
I think so too. We'll just get all the facts out on the table, and maybe we can come together with
If this happened like at the Pioneer Center or something, we invited the public. Or
I think it's time.
One of the great things about that is if you do have, if you have any changes in your commission composition, that's a great time to do it, because you want to try to educate folks that have to make these decisions early,
Okay.
as early as possible in their tenure.
So we could, so we're going to have this assessor issue and the Urban Renewal 101 issue after the new commission comes on board. Is that correct?
Another.
Okay, very good.
Could I just add,
Yes, sir.
another good resource for that would be AORA, the Association of Oregon Redevelopment Agencies. So they are very savvy to urban renewal, and
They're even more specialized than
they're very
the league.
very specialized in urban renewal and the taxing and all of that. So that would be a good resource.
Okay, so we'll make this for a future agenda item.
Urban
maybe,
Renewal 101 at a
for,
future agenda.
Yeah, continue our discussion on this so we know what to do next at the new commission. So we have this lined up, okay? All right, everything okay?
Do you show me?
Oh.
I show me.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I don't. I'm sorry, I don't show you. I don't see you either. I don't know where you're at.
Well, she's on the agenda. She didn't do it on the board.
We're on the actual
Okay,
future
Commissioner
agenda.
Roth, go ahead.
I wanted to bring up that I've requested for an agenda item to have the co-developers come back and discuss
Oh, yeah.
with the commission.
Okay. Co-developers for. You bet. Okay. Everything else all right? Meeting adjourned. Well then.